And Lord Hendy, in recent months, claims have surfaced that you threatened an engineering company, threatened to withhold public contracts for them after one of their staff raised safety concerns around Euston, and the claims that are that you pressured them to get rid of him. Is that something you regret?
So I've apologised for a letter that I wrote, a line in a letter. But actually, what I would say is safety is really important on the railway. Anybody on the railway can raise safety matters with Network Rail, with train operators, with the Office of Road and Rail, or through CIRAS, which is an independent and anonymous way of doing it, and they will always be listened to seriously.
Do you regret your conduct then, as during your time as Network Rail chairman?
I regret the sentence in the letter, which apparently threatens the contractor concerned. But I'd reiterate that safety is a serious business, and people who observe safety, in particular professional people, railway people, can report it to Network Rail, a train operator, the Office of Road and Rail, or through CIRAS, which is anonymous and confidential. That's the way of reporting safety concerns.
So tonight, hello everyone. We will be talking about the former Secretary of State for Transport's National Transport Strategy, or Integrated National Transport Strategy, because on Thursday last week, that's precisely what Louise Haigh announced. That evening, she was then sacked. Well, we're going to talk about all of this. We are going to talk briefly about some of the reasoning for that, but we are going to spend a bit of time going through the announcement. The strategy has not been announced. What's been announced is the announcement of the strategy. The strategy won't arrive for a year, but we'll see what we're hopefully we'll get a feel of what we are going to expect in a year, and whether what we see in a year is an announcement of another announcement of another announcement, or if we're actually going to see anything useful out of this. So we're going to try and pick out if there's anything positive here to be, have some optimism about, and also think about whether this will get taken forwards, given that it was delivered by Louise Haigh, and who is no longer Secretary of State for Transport. Heidi Alexander is. We'll talk about that too. Do line up your questions. So the context of this was that this announcement. Here's the RTM page. Here's the quote from Louise: "Integrated transport in this country is lagging behind our European counterparts, and for too long our fragmented transport networks have stunted economic growth and made it harder for people to get around." I mean, that's absolutely spot on, as much of what Louise had to say was. And so, it's interesting to see, Dijon kept getting mentioned, and trams in Dijon. Trams aren't the be-all and end-all. They are brilliant, but we should have trams in 25-plus towns and cities in the UK, and the number is much smaller than that. And we only have a full metro system in one of the cities in the UK. We've talked about this unendingly. And, we're going to pick through and see whether that might change, whether these announcements are anything to be excited about, or whether they are hot air bluster, waffle, and just another delay tactic. Let's see, shall we? First of all, though, it's my chance to welcome you all to tonight's Rail Natter. Everyone, welcome. And as the Intercity 225 fades away, this episode's episode 2 for 1, which is quite fun. 2 Secretaries of State for the price of 1. No, we're going to do a bit of news first, though, because there are a few things to talk about. There's some other news that I've scooped up that I might come back to, and some of it might be less and less topical, but I'll cover it anyway. But picked up a few things that I wanted to cover this episode, and there'll be some more I'll cupper. There'll be some more I'll cupper next episode. First one is the one that I was on LBC this morning, haranguing Nick Ferrari, but more importantly, haranguing Steve Norris about. Steve Norris gave the line, "No serious transport commentator would say that privatisation, the passenger numbers haven't climbed after privatisation," to which I immediately, when I was handed the mic, said, well, as a serious transport commentator, I will refute that, because it's not true, because the line started going up in the early to mid-80s. So, anyway, there's a lot of news about, South Western Railway is going to be the first train operator to be nationalised. This is, of course, nonsense because LNER was the first. Northern, TPE and Southeastern all are under DOHL, the directly operated holding company, or Holdings Limited, which is the DFT's arm's length company that runs the nationalised. Well, they're not nationalised. They're state-owned, but they're individual operators, which is a useless waste of time. Like, this doesn't solve anything. It fixes very little at all. So the point I was making in the interview this morning, and the point I have made to you, good folks, and that I've made to many others before and will continue to make, is that this is a baby step in the right direction, but this is the start, not the end. And what happens next is the really important question. The structure. TFW, of course, and TS, and Caledonia and Scotland. Sorry, I was thinking Caledonia and Sleeper. I was thinking of just England, actually. But yeah, no, of course, TFW is fully state-owned, as is ScotRail, as is Caledonia Sleeper. Actually, ScotRail and Caledonia Sleeper are also under the Scottish version of DOHL. They're under the Scottish Transport Holdings, or whatever it is. TFW is more directly owned than that, I believe, which is the better way to do it. In some senses. Anyway, so yeah, technically this headline is correct because South Western Railway is the first nationalised train operator under Labour. So that is actually correct. Thank you, Maidenhead Advertiser. So yeah, this isn't much of a story. It's not even like it's happened today. It's something that's going to happen soon. So whatever. Not really that much of a news story. What is interesting is that London City, Birmingham and Bristol airports are going up for sale. Of course, it's another Canadian teachers' pension plan that owns them. The Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan is in talks over a multi-billion-pound sale of stakes in London City, Birmingham, Bristol, Brussels and Copenhagen airports. Well, for the part of certainly London City is that it's an enormous economic waste to still have it as an airport. Get rid of it. Redevelop the land. It's just ridiculous to have an airport where it just get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there. Bristol Airport, another airport that I would suggest is between Cardiff and Bristol. I would suggest that actually Cardiff is the better place to have the airport. So I would say close, although Cardiff Airport's in a useless location, halfway to Llantwit. No, Bristol Airport can happily close. Birmingham probably you would keep open. Or would you? There's a future episode, by the way, where I do some working out of whether of which airports we would keep open within the UK and which we should close. I'm not sure whether I'd keep Birmingham open, actually. I don't know whether actually, if you had HS2, then actually Manchester and London would be close enough that you don't need the Birmingham airport there. You could focus the development on Manchester, but meh. In any case, certainly London City, get rid of that, and Bristol is a hopeless airport anyway, so yeah, buy them, kill them. The right thing for the UK to do would be to buy out the stakes. London, if it was a city that had any means anymore, it would just buy out the stake and then propose it to be closed. As Jane Foreman said, London City Airport only used by wankers. Yeah, essentially. Literally, this city airport is an enormous drain on the capital compared to that being usable land. Absolutely, like genuinely, it's a horrendous move economically to have it not being like viable, usable land, rather than being this complete waste that brings in a few rich people who should otherwise more easily get the train anyway. So, where did I interview this morning? I was on LBC, I think. So get rid of those. What else? These have always sucked. Yes, it's a fun thing to see the autonomous rail rapid transit, which is not any of those words. It isn't autonomous. It isn't on rails, so the rail thing is nonsense. And it's not rapid transit because it's a tram. These are basically the trackless trams, but the ones that use an optical sensor rather than like the Translore guided system. And these have been, Indonesia, in Jakarta, in fact, was trialling these, and they're sending them back to China because they're rubbish. After the trains failed to operate autonomously during trials in September and October in the future capital city, Nusantara. These are just, they're like, no, these are rubbish. We're getting rid of these. It's gone. Bye. Raoul, you're right that Bristol does have a lot of maintenance facilities used. Yes, it does. It is true. Anyway, so this thing is, this is the optical sensor bendy bus that people say is a tram and doesn't need tracks and doesn't need overheads and therefore isn't it marvellous? Like, no, it isn't. For all of the aforementioned reasons. It is just a bus. Buses are great. The trouble with this one, following an optical sensor, is that it'll be on the wheels go along the same part of the tracks, which means that they wreck the tarmac, they destroy the road. Check out the Navarra interview that I just did about this sort of thing. But yeah, it's good to see that they're being returned to China and Indonesia going, nah, these are crap, mate. Talking of nonsense, Ian Visit's covering the fact that TfL have now finally dropped, once again, having been asked to by Grant Shapps. It's actually a very lib joke, but I genuinely just forgot his actual name there. By Grant Shapps to look at driverless tube trains. TfL have now got, it's nonsense and we're not looking at it again. Go away, central government. So thankfully they've stopped this nonsense and aren't spending any more money on the trial. But if you want to know more about driverless tube trains, then we covered this in an episode ages ago, didn't we? So you can just go back, just search RailNatter driverless trains, and you'll get the episode. So that's been dropped, which is good news. A little bit of international news. Geneva residents have voted in a new vehicle tax system based on a vehicle's weight, regardless of its powertrain. Some actual common sense legislation, absolutely. Taxing based on vehicle weight is a good way. It's good logic. I like this. There is a thing about the bus. The London bus, what is it, the 385 that's got that, it's the Irizar bus, but it is just a bus that's got a funny name, and everyone's been calling it a tram because it's got side skirts on the wheels, but it's not, there's nothing tram about it, it's just a slightly fancy bus. Anyway, yeah, so that's Geneva vehicle tax change, just some actual canton-led positive changes there. So it's another vehicle tax model that we can look to that is far better than our current process. So yes, and last little thing to end on is that the Colne Valley viaduct, which I visited and it was being partially constructed. I'm hoping to HS2 nobody talks to me anymore because I don't know why, but I'm going to pester HS2 and get them to give me a walk across the viaduct. Ideally a cycle across the viaduct. But it has won in the engineering category the Fine Art Commission Trust's third annual Building Beauty Award. Judges described it as an engineering and design tour de force that, despite its scale, treads lightly, skimming over the water. Oh, I'm going to go big face for a minute because actually, you know what I need to do is I need to find a bit of music. Where are we? Let's go to here. Should have thought of this before, but it's just come to me in a dream. Music, classical. What do we want? Yeah, okay, here we go. Because I don't want that. I want that there. There we are. Let's just enjoy this for a minute, shall we? Look at that. Isn't that glorious? Isn't it absolutely marvellous? People are very upset about this thing, but this is an absolutely stunning piece of civil engineering. Just very, very nice. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. I think it really has succeeded. And also, you'll notice that all the pontoons and everything have disappeared very nicely as well, without leaving much mess behind. I just think it's a stunning structure. It's an example of what we could have. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. It is a very good bit of structure. Yeah, very nice indeed. Anyway, right, enough of that. So, let's crack on, shall we? Let's get my miniaturized face up in the corner. Hello, everyone. Actually, let's go big face briefly. Oh. Thanks, little one. So, yeah, there we go. That's all that. We're going to talk about this integrated strategy, this integrated transport strategy thing. We just saw Louise Haigh announcing it. Tracy Braben was there as well. The two of them kind of collaborating, talking good leads. Is a good example of a place that, none of that was CGI, by the way. That was all photographs of the actual finished structure, the civil engineering, where the heavy civil engineering is done at that site. The only thing stopping us having more of this kind of beautiful architecture is short-sighted politics. It's funny that Britain Remade were saying, oh, why do we spend so much on this viaduct? And there were a lot of people saying, oh, what are the costs of that viaduct? And because it's beautiful, because it's a thing that's going to be there for 120 years, well, it's 200, 300 years, and it's something that we can be proud of, a structure we can be proud of. It's good to do things. We can and should have nice things. Yeah, so... let's miniaturize my little face. Oh, you'll be happy to know that the progress flag is no longer under duress. I've finally swapped it upside to the correct way around. There you are, just to cheer everyone up. What's this rubbish behind me over here? There's always some other piece of junk. Oh, yes, that's... Everyone, you will get them eventually, I promise. It's just a thing that I need to think about and find some packaging to send. They're gifts. They are on their way to you. You'll get extra gifts too with them when they do arrive. You know who you are. You won competitions. You are going to get the thing maybe just like a year after you won the competition. Anyway, right. Yeah, this is live. Look, hello everyone. Look, yeah, you can ask me questions. Any thoughts? Any questions going on? It's a Rail Natter. This is the format of Rail Natter. It's like It's like your regular podcasts that you watch, except that it's live and you can ask me questions right now. Interview this morning was on NBC. Yeah, did that. Air travel strategy comparable compared to the Netherlands. I don't know. Possibly. We'll have a look. Raphael recently watched Jeff's video on London News. Our champ. Yeah, done that. Lovely. Tapis a Lord. I would rather have London City Airport than a bunch of high-end luxury gentrification blocks. Well, that depends on how you do your development, doesn't it? Tim Davis. Which do you think will come? SWR arterial fleet full rollout or SWR being nationalised? I think the state ownership of SWR is going to come first, to be honest. It doesn't really look like a tram. It's not that. It's not right. So Olean trains will be far better. Will improve that vision even more. Absolutely. The progress flag is now straight. No, it's not straight. It's just the right way up. I've just corrected it right around. Yeah, there we are. Right. Anyway. People are worried about me being unemployed, but it must be very stressful. I wouldn't worry about me too much. I'll be all right. Have I sorted out the camping gas bottles? Asked Pineapple Man 3. No, I haven't, actually. I need to take a picture of those, don't I, and send them, share that around so people can experience the joy. A couple, you know what? Right up front, while I've got my stupid face up, I'm going to do a couple of plugs. The first plug I'm going to do is, I don't know if I've done this yet, but Mark Ovenden's book. Look at this. What a beautiful, beautiful creation. Iconic transit maps. I don't know if I've already got this out, and it's stunning. It's just gorgeous. So strong record. There's a nice Christmas book to get people. That's book number 1. Book number 2, what's this? Dismissal with notice. Disciplinary appeal decision outcome letter. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know what that is. No, Guinness World Records. Yes, I have ADHD. Guinness World Records, there, 2025, 70th anniversary edition. In there is a page about... God knows if I'm going to find this. In there is a page about railways. And the person who curated that page about railways is yours truly. So if you want to know about trains, this isn't the book for you, but there is a load of nice stuff in here. I'm not going to find it. But yeah, there's some railway stuff in there that I've curated, which is a fun thing for you to pop up. Yeah, what else? That's all. Oh, and I do have another book that's just landed with me very recently that I'm excited to tell you about, but I'm going to save that till the end. Anyway, that is a new Mark Ovenden book. Yeah, the transit maps one. Yeah, it's fab. Will Lawton, evening Gareth, just finished my first listen through of your book. It's a masterpiece. Oh, thank you very much indeed, Will. It's very kind for saying. Thanks for making the effort to record it in audio form. Fantastic accessibility. Very, very kind. I had fun recording it, and I hopefully it's good, and you can go and access it. Patreon only people, don't buy it yet, or if you have, you're very kind. But there's things. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, thanks, Ella. Yeah, I'm going to crack on with the episode now. So, right, get rid of my face, miniaturise my face to nothing, and get on with the episode, shall we? So, Leeds City Council, in the city chambers, and there's Louise announcing, well, what is she announcing? She's announcing this. Well, actually, two things. There's two things we're going to read through. We're going to read through the short written statement to Parliament, because that might be closer to what's actually going to happen. And then we're going to read the speech to see if there's anything useful in the speech as well that's in there. It's a quick answer to the question. Let's see. Will there be a Kindle type release? There is a. You can go on Amazon and get the Kindle version. There is an ebook version out there. Yes, absolutely. Right. So. It's not the University of Leeds, I don't think. It's the City Chambers, I believe. Anyway, right. Let's read this thing, shall we? So, here we go. This is the written statement to Parliament. It's not very long, as you can see. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs. The government has today set out its vision for the first integrated national transport strategy in over 2 decades, delivering on the commitment made in our manifesto. Okay, so there's nothing yet. At the moment something real is said, we can highlight it. For too long there's been no national plan for how transport should be designed and delivered in England. It is England, of course, which has led to a fragmented and inefficient system that lacks join-up and cohesion. It's a strange sentence. Delivered in England. So... it's interesting that's been pointed out, because it's saying, no, we're going to leave Scotland and Wales to it. Good. So we are moving back away from the previous government's unwinding of devolution, which is a positive step, I think. As a result, many of the people in our cities, towns and rural areas are poorly connected with transport systems that don't work for them. Correct. The strategy will drive a cultural change where people are put at the heart of how we design, build and operate transport. Good, although freight people are currently like, wait a minute, what? At its core will be a single national vision for how transport systems should work together, empowering local leaders to deliver integrated local transport that meets the needs of their local community. Good. As you've been reading my book, the transport system should be safe, reliable and accessible for everyone, improving passenger experience and unlocking equal access to opportunities across England. Walking and cycling should be the best choice for shorter journeys, and where driving is the right choice, these journeys should be smoother and more predictable. Yeah, agree with that. All of that, including the driving bit. I want public transport to be a more attractive option for people to experience a seamlessly integrated transport network that works for them. Yes, good. Today I've announced my vision for this strategy. Okay, so the vision has been announced. And announced, launched a public call for ideas. Oh, we'll pick that up in a minute, shall we? Which gives everyone the chance to share views about their own transport experiences and what can be done to improve them. That's just a accountability sink to make people feel like they're involved, but I don't think that's relevant. In the new year, my department will host a series of regional roadshows around the country. God damn, we're going to be going to one of those. Giving local leaders, transport operators and passengers the opportunity to help shape the way we deliver a truly integrated transport network. This government is committed to ensuring that transport works for everyone, and this strategy will set the framework for how we meet people's needs today and in the future. Okay, so there's the kind of the pre-warm-up announcement. The call for ideas is... What is the call for ideas? The Department of Transport is developing a strategy that will set the high-level direction for how transport should be designed, built and operated in England over the next 10 years. It will set out a single national vision, which will put people who use transport and their needs at its heart and empower local leaders to... Okay, yeah, we know about all that. We're now asking people about their experience of transport in England. It's shit, which is basically what the answers are going to be. And what we can do to make it better. Make it not shit. That's essentially what the response needs to be. Kind of pointless. We don't need this. Fine, it's a chance for people to have their say, but they're not really listened to particularly. I don't see the value of this as a process. Like, this isn't the right moment for that kind of input. But anyway, okay, fine. 30th of January, that closes. Have your say if you want to, but it doesn't feel like a useful point to have your say over this. People should be having their say over... Anyway, yeah. We need to bombard that and say make modal share the measure by which the system is going to be announced. Right, so this is in Leeds Civic Hall. This is the speech. I'm not going to try and do Louise's South Yorkshire accent, but it meant a lot to me, and it should mean a lot to a lot of people. It was pretty inspiring to me, people who face constant and daily and good God, the announcement about her resignation has brought it all out of the woodwork again. People who face daily discrimination and prejudice because they're women, particularly in the realm of the domain of transport, particularly when they're brushing against an industry like the railway industry. It was quite inspirational for me to have two women stood up and actually talking about national strategy and talking about regional strategies for transport. It was actually good. It was a really positive moment. I was quite pleased about it. And Louise picks this up at the start of the speech. Thank you so much, Tracy. It's testament to your leadership and indeed our friendship that a South Yorkshire girl is launching a national strategy in Leeds today. Yes, so I'm not going to read the whole thing because, yes, before I get into the strategy itself, I wanted to share a bit about what motivates me in this job. Kind of moot. Let's read this bit here. So this bit's annoyed some people, and I am not annoyed by it, although I think it could have been more carefully worded. There is sometimes a rather singular view of transport, that it's perhaps not that high on the political agenda, that it is quite often a series of bin fires valiantly being tackled by a gang of hobbyists who really, really love trains. And you know what? There's a bit of truth to that, and that's okay, because we need people who really love and understand trains. But that's not me. I do not have a modern railway in my attic, and despite living in Sheffield, I don't own an Arac. Which is fine. So many people got angry about this. And you know what? I think they're getting angry about it because it struck a nerve. So what excites me to take this on? Because what animates me is people. It's making people's day-to-day lives better. Yes, the thing Louise and I shared. Breaking down barriers, yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to pick up that model railway point because a lot of people got grumpy about it, and there are people who I think have very thin skins and should grow up. So there we go. Actually, yes, it talks about Louise talks about Barbara Castle as a bit of a hero, and as we know, there are lots of things that Barbara Castle... Martha's in the chat. Martha, you're in the chat. Martha, we talked about Barbara Castle in our episode on transport integration, on integrated transport, and that episode's a really good way to go and find out what Barbara was on about, and pertinent to this episode as well, actually. So, load of waffle, fine. The work of integration remains unfinished. Well, it's been largely undone since the PTs were created, which is what Louise talks about here briefly. Regional PTs, coordinated bus and train, unified fares, create a consistent brand. It's important that these are being picked out, by the way. The consistent brand is also something important. People always knew where they were when they saw those cream and green metro buses. Well, I'd say that probably West Yorkshire is one of the least successful areas of PT deployment. I'd say that Tyne and Wear is probably one of the more successful ones. Manchester's similar. Although, again, I do think Tyne and Wear metro area is probably the most successful, and then it got undone by bus deregulation, didn't it? So, yeah. So anyway, right, so... yeah, lots of that work has been undone. So what was a clear vision 50 years ago was thrown away in the 80s and 90s through deregulation and privatisation. It wasn't just that trains and buses were privatised, power was privatised too. Local leaders were bereft of the right levers with terrible, real human consequences, because when power is privatised, it's the people that suffer. Yes, absolutely. She's not talking about electricity, by the way. I think she's talking about power in terms of democratisation of transport systems. Take Dunster's Farm. A wholesaler is in Bury and a good employer that pays the living wage, yet late shift workers sleep in the staff room because there's no nighttime public transport to get them home. No lack of accessible toilets for a disabled passenger. Good that these are being picked out as examples, because it shows what things she would have been interested in, and hopefully Heidi will continue to be interested in. Tragedy behind those stories is that we become inured to them, accept that transport simply doesn't work and it won't meet our needs. Okay, yes. There's one big difference between Barbara and I, where she's committed to central planning and driving change from the top. I know that can't work. This is actually good. I'm inspired by the work of a new generation of thinkers and behavioural economists like Pete Dyson and Rory Sutherland in their work, Transport for Humans. Yes, some good work. They envisage transport that unashamedly puts the needs of people first. That can be the means to greater opportunity in healthier communities, and that will drive the economic growth this government has made its central mission. Yes. I'm never embarrassed to nick a good idea when I see one, and if we look beyond our shores, we can see what's possible and bring inspiration back home. So then here's the Dijon trams reference, fine. Fine, they built it from scratch. Dijon, 164,000 residents, built trams from scratch, happy days. Let's see. Succeed in driving down congestion pollution, because when you build a genuinely integrated transport network, people choose to use it. Yes, absolutely. They moved to a system where you can use your phone to pay even if it's run out of battery, fine. Tickets and car parking are priced dynamically depending on levels of air pollution. That's quite nice. I do like that. Not necessarily a requirement, but it's fine. As I said, Dijon, only a little city. Why does that transport system work while Chester does not? Because in Dijon, the city has the power to make the changes it needs. This is really good. It's appointed a single organisation, in this case, the private sector organisation, Keolis. Boo! Doesn't need to be a private sector organisation. Here we go. Here's the new Labour bit. To run the whole system, a body that the city can hold to account, and a body that's empowered to drive progress. Well, why don't just have it as the city running it? Come on now. Our integrated strategy will empower local leaders to design and build their own region-specific networks. Fine. Today is not about infrastructure important as that it is. That's true. That is very true. I'm glad to see that written down. The government will publish an infrastructure strategy in the spring that will set out our priorities for the next decade in transport, provide certainty to the supply chain, and help unlock private investment. Again, private investment bit, okay, we'll see what that means. Hopefully it's the Jürgen Meyer sense of unlock private investment by saying what the private sector needs to be building for the public sector. But anyway, infrastructure strategy in the spring. There's the first thing that's actually going to be coming that we need to pay close attention to. Okay, infrastructure strategy in the spring, something to pay close attention to. There's a very deep chat about housing prices going on in the chat, by the way. Keep focused, everyone. If it's a deep sideways chat, take it to the Discord server. And whilst I'm firmly committed to getting the infrastructure that we need, what we need is people first approach to guide our infrastructure thinking for the real change we need in transport. Absolutely true. We're halfway through now. So let's keep whizzing through. People first approach to guide infrastructure. Yes, that's good. Why are we in Leeds? Integrated national transport strategy. Yeah, which will be published next year. Want people's needs to be at the heart of that. That's fine. Must begin with the outcomes we want. People living and working where they want, travelling the way they want. accessing housing, hospitals, schools, and other services they need, and deprived communities opening economic doors that were previously closed to them. Yes, by starting with what we want to achieve, we can design transport systems that enable that vision. Absolutely. This sentence is a very good sentence. I feel like I've written this sort of thing quite a few times in here. Yeah. So anyway, right. This people-led approach requires the most radical culture shift in transport thinking in generations. It includes, here we go, here's the juicy bit. It includes changing how we measure value for money, so more weight is given to transport projects that enhance access to jobs, boost productivity, and help businesses grow, particularly in less affluent areas. Oh, the sentence started well and didn't end so well because it started looking more like Treasury got involved. Access to jobs, boost productivity, help businesses grow. Okay. I mean, kind of yes, but also right. That's why I'm planning to reform our appraisal system so we deliver not just good value for money, but the right outcomes too. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking, yet another strategy written by Whitehall for Whitehall, but this will be different in 3 ways. Okay, what 3 ways will those be? Firstly, I want people's views to shape it, so there's the call for ideas, whatever. Local road shows. Once ready, strategy will be delivered by a new integrated transport commissioner. Okay, so fine. Secondly, the strategy will address concerns many local leaders have raised. It will create a single national vision of how integrated transport systems should work together, but it will then empower local leaders to design their local transport to meet specific local needs and address problems and pinch points in their area. Yes, good. If we know the grammatical issue that the copy and pasting speechwriter has put into the gov.uk, yes, that is good. It will build on, not cut across, the fantastic work already taking place. Today I'm backing our mayors across the country even further. They'll be given a statutory role in governing GBR and the network. Yes, good. This will ensure our local leaders can create the right transport networks that deliver for local areas. That is really good. It's a bit like what we talked about before of making sure that the city region devolution, as much as they are able or interested to, they get their own networks. So that's fine. My message today is simple. The integrated national transport strategy will be your tool. I mean, that's secondly. Oh yeah, thirdly is coming in a second. Oh, it's technology, right? Okay, let's see. It'll be your tool. So local people, it'll be your tool to design ambitious, join up and better transport. Fine. And this government will remove every obstacle in your way. Will it though? Thirdly / finally, the strategy will be underpinned by the latest technology, behavioural science and data. Even though many journeys span different modes in different areas, often local authorities and operators are not incentivised to think beyond their own remits. That's why, for example, I want to use technology to combine huge amounts of transport data across the country so people can enjoy seamless, integrated and accessible journeys tailored to their needs wherever they live. I'd like to end by painting a picture of just what this could look like in practice. We're doing counting again, except this time we've counted 4 things. This isn't the best written speech. Anyway, that's fine. So here we go. A transport system that works together and people trust. Buying one ticket across a range of options. Yes, fine. In city regions, that we don't need to ask what that looks like. Just do what London has done. Just have an integrated contactless system is fine. A transport system for everyone. So accessibility is designed in as standard. That's good to have written down. We can make it easier to get on and off services and build a safer, more secure network, particularly for women and girls. Absolutely. Thirdly, a transport system that's sustainable. Yes, fine, good. Expanded hire schemes for bikes and e-scooters, good. Legalise e-scooters, it's another thing they should do. And a transport system for the whole country. Yeah, for many, especially in rural areas, driving may be a practical choice. Okay, fine, there's a driving bit here, fine. From using data to manage traffic flows, helping drivers to easily find and pay for parking spaces. Charging? Nothing about charging? No, nothing about charging and rationalising and standardising charging technologies and infrastructure. No. So there we go. Bringing together a fragmented system of different operators, incentives and responsibilities will take time. But I'm glad that Barbara Castle's vision is being referenced. It is something I think... So there we go, that's the end of the speech. Together we can build a transport system that genuinely works for the British people, and I can't wait to get started working on it with all you to achieve it. And then she got sacked. So, yeah. For it to be a year before the strategy lands out of a 4-year electoral cycle is not the best, to be honest. Because then, of course, that landed. We will talk about that in a second, but that landed, and that was the 28th. On the same day, Louise sends a long letter here. resigning her post. She'd been pushed out. This is not a resignation. This is Martin McSqueeny? Yeah, let's go with that. Martin McSqueeny pushing her out for, as yet, not entirely understood reasons. We will perhaps find out soon what those reasons are, but I don't know what those reasons are yet. This MF said McSqueeny. Yes, he did. Yes, that's me. My appointment to your cabinet as the youngest ever woman remains one of the proudest achievements of my life, but not as proud as the steps we took to improve the lives of British people. I am, for a variety of reasons, extremely disappointed that Louise has been pushed out of the cabinet. I'm not saying she was the perfect transport secretary, but she was the furthest left member of the cabinet, for starters. She is the best transport secretary we've had for quite a long time. And she has absolutely been levered out of the cabinet for reasons that we don't yet fully understand. Morgan, not Martin. Thanks, Katie. Yes, it's Morgan McSqueeny, as we now know. I don't know who Martin is. Martin McSqueeny. I'm so sorry, Martin, whoever you are, wherever you are. So yeah, this is, and then I think the thing that's extremely insulting was then was that Keir Starmer just sent this like little pathetic paragraph back. It's just insulting. The fact they did it on the day she did the announcement was specifically tailored to it as an insult to her to cause maximum humiliation. This is grim. This is ugly politics. And it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible, and it indicates what sort of party, what sort of leadership Keir Starmer operates on, the way that he operates and the way that his new chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, chief of staff, by the way, took over from Sue Gray. Yeah, it was only a matter of time before they found something. And this, as for the actual stuff in question, the thing about the phones and stuff, I just don't care. It's just such a trivial thing. She was mugged, and the aftermath, she was given bad advice. It's just, people have been trying to create some stuff about, there are multiple phones. It's like, what evidence have you got for that? You're just making stuff up. Like, all we've seen so far is just some confusion about a phone being found later that was supposedly taken in a mugging. It's just, just absolutely, just very nakedly political maneuvers to get rid of someone who was standing in the way of something. I haven't seen the snide remarks that Streeting gave afterwards. Actually, I hate Wes Streeting, and I have a feeling that, someone tell me what remark, someone pop in the chat what remark Streeting gave, but gross. So, unpleasant, all around, very unpleasant. But the key thing that worries me is what is the policy that we're going to see, let's pop Louise up on her way out. What is the policy that we're going to see or not see that she has had to be pushed out for or not for? Is it airport expansion? I'm not sure, because she was kind of lukewarm on but potentially not cold on airport expansion, so I'm not sure. Maybe it is that, maybe it isn't that. Is it bus deregulation? Is it undoing bus deregulation? Is that going to slow down or disappear? I honestly don't know. Is it anything to do with I had a discussion on an interview that I've done for Turn Left actually with Curtis, which is really good. We're coming up soon and we talked about this, and we discussed whether it's to do with the fact that originally we were going to be going for early kind of contract end clauses, early termination clauses to get things under public ownership earlier, and that isn't happening. But I don't think that's the that's what it is. Yeah, other people are saying that she's made enemies in the big bus, in First Group and in others, and I could entirely believe that actually they're just unhappy, and they said, she's an ideologue, and you need to, if you want us on board, you need to get rid of her and slow things down. I could believe that's what it is, combined with the DP World stuff from the P&O Ferry stuff from a month or so ago. Katie Fenn has just given me the quote that I'm not even going to read that quote out, because I think it's really important that what happens to Wes Streeting is just not a nice man. Anyway, Yeah, so there's Louise Haigh. I want to talk about another thing though. It's going to be a shorter episode, this one, isn't it? We'll have a bit of an open Q&A in a sec. I want to talk about misogyny because some of the responses to this within industry that I've spotted on LinkedIn and that I have seen, some of it better hidden than other stuff. There was a particular tweet that came up by Charm Whistle Productions that was supposedly from a senior rail person, but it also could have just been them saying it because it's their own personal view. That talking about red hair and, you know, any woman who dyes her, anyone, but what they mean is woman who dyes her hair red to draw attention to herself isn't worth it, or some horrible misogynistic nonsense. To all those people, you can go to hell. You're the worst of the industry, particularly if you're in the industry and senior in the industry and you have views like that. For those who are, there are a lot of people who, there's a huge amount of misogyny, ageism for sure, but the ageism generally wrapped into it. Ageism often comes paired with something else, and in this case, it's absolutely misogyny. In that there is these senior people who say, oh, you know, you needed Hendy around to sort of bolster her credentials because, you know, she's young and inexperienced and a woman. Although they wouldn't say the last thing, they absolutely would mean it. I'm afraid a lot of the commentary I've seen in the aftermath of this has been grim indication of how much misogyny and mistrust of a young woman who actually has, frankly, has said more useful stuff about what transport ought to do than a lot of intransigent useless men, and also, by the way, has shown herself to be able to act as well. And I think a lot of the upset from very senior people in the industry comes from the fact that she has shown herself to actually step in and get involved when their intransigence has resulted in no change for decades. Euston is a good example. Intransigent men saying, oh, it's fine, it's safe, we don't need to do anything, and then she steps in saying, no, I'm going to make a load of changes. And all of a sudden you've got 5-point plans, you've got discussions of this, that, and the other being rectified at Euston. And that's all because she stepped in where a bunch of old men hadn't and didn't. So, you know, that's one example of there are several others where she has actually stepped in to resolve problems. And it's extremely disappointing to me that that she's been pushed out. And it's extremely disappointing to me that I've seen so much rank misogyny across the industry from commentators, but also from within the industry about her as well. For those who are thinking that this is something, Hendy doesn't have the power to have her pushed out. It'd be interesting to, I mean, if there's in some way that's some contributor to this, it'd be very interesting. I extremely doubt it. Louise's Spads, if you're watching this, reach out, say hi. Hi, let's have a chat. Let's find out exactly what happened, because I'd be fascinated to know. But I don't think it's I think it goes over Hendy. Hendy is kind of small fry in this. But the reason I put that clip at the start of the episode is because she's been pushed out for this. Hendy's still in post over something that's way more illegal. And that's interesting to me. And again, sort of says a lot about the double standards that women and men face in government, doesn't it? Particularly northern and sort of younger women. Grim. So, that's all good fun. What else is going on? Let's see the chat. There's a huge... Everyone's very excitable in the chat today. Lots and lots of interesting discussions. Yeah, just a load of, Michael C saying the P&O Ferry stuff probably didn't help her case. Yeah, again, though, what she was saying was good, and the idea that she in any way put any investment from DP World at risk is a joke. Carrad saying probably just because she was left of Reagan. Yeah, well, yeah, quite. All questions do send through. She resigned. She didn't resign. She was pushed out. You know, Morgan McSweeney kind of later said, "Yeah, I got rid of her." So she resigned. Very heavy air quotes there. Mr. Guy Snails is saying, I have to say the background radiation of misogyny particles on the internet made me think she'd look younger than she does. She just looks like a normal woman. Yeah, it's just, you know, women are held to different standards. This is the world we live in. It's excruciating and frustrating and damaging. You know what? Let's tie this one up a bit early. Let's have a shorter episode. If you do shoot your questions. But I'll do some outros and then we'll maybe pick up some questions at the end if there's anything. There's lots of sideshow chat going on. You're all very lively today in the chat. Hello to all of you. But now's your chance to questions at me in the use @ on YouTube so that I can spot that you've sent me a question. I can pick it up easily. If you have sent a question and I've missed it, then then at my name again, and then I can spot it nice and easily, so I can answer it. The usual outro plugs. Podcast is available in audio only format. Again, I've got rid of some of the clips of silence in the last episode, in the Grenfell episode that just went up. So tell me if you think if there are any obvious errors. If you are a listener to the show and there are any obvious errors, then do let me know, and I'll get stuck in. But yeah, the podcast is available on good podcasting platforms. My Spotify Wrapped for the podcast has just come up, and there's a few fun things in there, although nothing particularly remarkable. The usual plugs. Patreon.com/Gareth Dennis is where you can support this sort of thing continue. Oh, we didn't talk about Heidi. We'll talk about Heidi at the end. Heidi Alexander, that should be... using first... It's a funny... I have to catch myself, because it absolutely is a gendered thing that you do, is that you will use first names for people. Invariably, you'll use first names for women more than you use first names for men, and it's a thing I constantly have to catch myself, and I get it, I do it, I'm guilty of it, and I absolutely have to catch myself and try and say Haigh, Alexander, as I probably would for male ministers as well. I bet if you go back through all the times I refer to ministers, I refer to Shapps as Shapps, not Grant, and yet I'm referring to Louise as Louise, not Haigh as Haigh. That just shows how much this stuff is ingrained into me, and I need to do better at that, frankly. And I need to absolutely do it with Alexander as well. So, GarethDennis.co.uk/merch for the merchandise. It could do with the zhuzh, couldn't it? There's a few things that I need to go in and tickle and tease, and maybe some new fun quotes that we need to catch and chuck up on there. So, yes. PayPal.me/Gareth Dennis for loose change of youth and abuse, and GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord, where the lively chats continue. Many continuations of the chats that have been very lively going on in here. Sam's asked a question, which I think I will be able to remember to spot, even though there's not an ask. So let's do the last plugs and then crack on. Oh yeah, book. It's doing marvellously well. Pester your local Waterstones, because they've just completely missed the boat on it, which is frustrating, because it's Christmas time, and if it was on shelves, people it'd be flying off shelves for Christmas, and it won't have been, it's possibly half the number of sales, because Waterstones have just completely dropped. And well, actually, Watkins have dropped the ball a little bit on this, but I'm in the process of fixing it. But one thing that will help fixing it is if actually you go through Waterstones to order it, because if they realise that loads of people are buying this book, they might start stocking it. So yeah, there we go. And do send me more of these pictures. I love them. I love getting these pictures. They make me very happy. I share them because they're nice. They're just terrific fun. I really enjoy them. I've had some corkers already. It's great. So yes, I am a co-host of Well, There's Your Problem podcast at the moment, and we have just, literally as we speak, the More the Curve episode's just gone up, and it's a fun episode. It's one that I've led on, so if you like that sort of thing, great. If you don't, to be honest, it's like a better version of the original Rail Hour episode on the More the Curve, to be honest. It's funnier. So yeah, if you want to go back and it's more focused on the disasters than the well, anyway, it's a good episode, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. But it's out now. In fact, all of us, including me, because I watch these episodes even though I'm in them. Is that weird? I don't know. I enjoy watching it. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I paused it to do this episode, and I will unpause it again at the end. So Richard Moody, I was going to put my copy on a shelf at Waterstones Cardiff. That's not bad. Richard, what to do is actually just order it. They do have to pay for it. They'll order it. If you don't then buy it, they'll put it on the shelves. So that's fine. So there we go. So, and next week I talked about book plugs. I think this will be working next week. It's not 100%, but it should be. Luke and I have been chatting. Luke Barmany, very much friend of the show, been on a few times. In fact, his book is, several of his books. So his previous book, which is Symmetry and Imperfections, is behind me, but his new book has just landed. I think it's arrived in the post a couple of days ago. Called Contrast, Photography on the London Underground. And these episodes are joyous, because what do Luke and I do? Luke picks a few of his favourites, and the two of us sit down and we go through and we talk through those pictures, and it makes me very, very happy. We talk through the images, we talk about the story behind those selection of images, and we just have a really nice, relaxed episode. It's just, they're just lovely. Luke, I had the pleasure of actually finally meeting Luke in person at the kind of the book launch, the proper book launch on publication day, and he is exactly as lovely and gorgeous as you'd expect him to be, and as when you've seen him on the podcast. So, yeah, so that should be next week. Whether it's a pre-record or it might be live, we'll wait and see. So, so much going on in the chat. Let me just go through and pick all that. So first thing, I'm going to answer Sam's question before I forget that it's up there. Sam, Is Alexander likely to have continuity with existing plans, or is she going to change course? I suspect a lot of it will stay the course, but we might see a slight shift in seasoning and potentially speed. I suspect we'll see a slowing down of some of the stuff. I suspect my biggest thing I suspect we'll see is a softening of bus stuff. The rail stuff is sort of fairly easy and inevitable, to be honest. The bus stuff isn't. And that's where the major benefits are, and it's also the major loss of money for First Group is going to be, among others. So, yeah, that's what I think is going to be interesting to pay attention to. Michael C. asks, following Haigh's departure, do you think the National Integrated Strategy will still end up happening? Yeah, so kind of similar. Michael C., I do think it'll happen. Whether we end up see a softening of some of the relationship with Treasury, whether we see a softening of the appraisal stuff, wait and see. What's the book I was going to talk about? It was that one that I just plugged, Richard Moody. Thank you. Julian Roberts, Haigh sacking timed for burial below assisted dying debate. Yes, it absolutely was, but also for her personal insult with her actual timing as well. Kian Martin is asking, do I have faith that Heidi Alexander will carry on with Louise's legacy? Yeah, see previous answers. Heidi Alexander, by the way, I think it's telling, although trivial, it is also telling when people's behaviours on Twitter can be telling. And so I was very upset to find out, to see that Lillian Greenwood had unfollowed me on Twitter, although it's the sort of thing that I can understand, given how nuts the Labour Party are on who people do and don't follow. I can perhaps understand it. Lillian, let's chat. But your party isn't a party I can support anymore for Wes Streeting reasons, among others, and the way you've just treated Louise collectively. Heidi Alexander used to follow me as well. I'm a transport person. Heidi Alexander, as when she was at TfL, did good stuff, but very much in a Sadiq Khan frame of good stuff. So with the associated framings, but by and large, reports very good. She used to follow me. She doesn't now. So I went on, I was like, oh, and I actually watched the follows you thing disappear as Twitter refreshed the page. I don't know. Let's see. The fact that I don't know what that says, but it's not that act isn't particularly pertinent, but it's what that act means that potentially is more interesting. But also that it doesn't. Maybe I'm overreading into it, and it's something that just a helpful assistant has done. By the way, Louise Haigh still follows me on Twitter and has done throughout this whole time. So yeah, let's keep going down. Let's see. There we go. We're talking about Rachel Reeves faking her credentials. Well, quite. Jack Elliott, how much egg do you think will be on the government's face when come the next general election, when nationalisation ends up being an exercise in moving blame from talks to government? Well, it depends what they do. If we have proper integration, then no, it'll be different. We'll be in a situation where we will actually see some benefits fairly rapidly. But if not, then the blame has been with government anyway, and this is kind of why the franchising system fell in itself, because the talks stopped being a useful barrier. Like the bubble burst, people saw through it. Wales Rails, thoughts on TfW's new 756 Tri-Motors entering service and the smart electrification is so far reliable. Anything that's a flirt is good. I'm a big fan of the flirts, which are the Tri-Motors. 756 are the flirts, aren't they? I'm not a fan of the electrification approach, but if it's working fine and they can then do the infills, I suspect that the reliability will drop off. Let's see. Let's keep it down. Ben Rattigan points out that Louise Haigh spent the entire budget, particularly on the fuel duty announcement, where she had a very unhappy looking face, rightly so, spent the entire budget, stood on the sidelines and looked very unimpressed by the whole thing. I thought that was very telling at the time. Yeah, quite. El Burrito's getting the book for Christmas. Thank you. Michael C is saying the first name, last name thing was especially galling in the presidential debate in the US when it was, Biden, Trump, then Kamala rather than Harris. Yeah, absolutely. It is. I need to catch myself on that. When local leaders are presented with a bus or a train, the bus has a better cost benefit than the train on a local level, but train has a positive impact national scale. Choose? Well, this is hopefully what the integrated transport plan will help with, because it will provide that. It'll allow those decisions to be more rational rather than based on just means. I'm off out and about during daylight tomorrow and Friday, so expect photos from the top left-hand corner of Wales. Thank you, Gareth. That'd be lovely. I'm expecting some big bridges, given those are very close to you. Tried to buy WS Waterstones, but could not. They have really fallen off. Less and less of the books they stock are anything special or interesting. Yeah, Kara's not so worried about the name thing. would rather be referred to by first name than surname. It's true, but I suppose it's a double standard. I need to, if I'm referring to male ministers by their last name by habit, then I ought to do the same for women as well. Ben Rattigan, the Durham coastline is right opposite me, so I'll catch a photo of my copy soon. Yes, please. Trainworms, my dad asked me to read a copy of my dad asked to read my copy of the book. Tell him to get his own. It's a tenner. Every copy sold helps me. Let's go. Regrettably, got a copy already at Houseman's. Oh, that's fine. Yeah. But I pitched the book pretty much to everyone I know, lol. Thanks, Bolton Goggins. That's extremely kind of you. Right. There we go. Let's see. Would you be interested in doing a transport disability accessibility specialist on one? Always. Will Lawton, let's have a chat. When did she unfollow you? What was the correlation possibly? I don't know. I hadn't been on her page for a while, so I'm not sure. Any possibility of organising to exert influence on the road shows and call for ideas? Quite possibly, actually. Let's see when the list of roadshows pops up and we can sort of start planning around that. That's an interesting point. That's a Discord. We can make a thread on the Discord server and plan around that within the campaigning channel. That's a good idea. When reading your book, I found myself bewildered by the name of the Roscoes, rolling stock operating companies. They're not operating them, are they? Well, they're just leasing them out. It's a strange name, but it's a euphemism, isn't it? Thatcher May Trust. I can't remember their first names. Thanks, Lemonade22. So there we go. Lewis Bergen got your books from an indie seller in Edinburgh. Thank you. Yes. Julian Roberts saying, don't underestimate Hendy's hurt pride. The thing is, he's a small man in a big fish bowl. Like, he's not actually that powerful. He's shown himself to not be that powerful by how little he's been able to do to stop me dragging his name through the mud and ending the end, kind of smashing up the end of his career. Yes. You're right, though, that they all... The thing that's funny to me is that Keir Starmer probably still has deference to Hendy because of the Sir and Lord thing, which is tragic, isn't it? Anyway, Gareth is asking when the currency episode... Gareth, you just need to pitch it to me. Send your pitch. I know... Well, not the pitch. I know the pitch. We've done that already. Send your thoughts on what it'll actually look like. Well, just DM me on Discord. Anyway, Richard Moody used to ride the train from Hartlepool to Newcastle, a beautiful stretch of line. Absolutely. Hinkley Point's first reactor was installed today, which is pretty cool. Thanks, Rails. All right, it's getting off. People are asking, do I have an agent, or how do we contact you about getting you to speak somewhere? Just message me on various social media. Just Phil Dyson. Yes, just pester me on Twitter, or you can find my email address. Lots of Discord. You can send me a message on YouTube probably. There are lots of, but there's a million ways. My website has my email address on it, so you can just email through that. There you are, Phil. Everyone, thanks for that. That was a fairly brief episode, nice and concise. We've covered a bit of ground. But yeah, hopefully interesting. It's one of those slightly pensive ones where we think about things, but we wait for the real thing to actually land, don't we? That's the proof of the pudding will be in the eating, and we've got to wait a year before we eat the thing. Anyway, so I'm going to wave farewell to you, and then watch the rest of W2YP. Cheerio, everyone. Cheerio.